How many of you believe that God has given the human race intelligence? How many of you believe that people who are in their professions today, whether it's a stockbroker, whether it's a doctor or engineer, how many of you believe that God has given these people the natural know-how, or the inkling of how to do what they know how to do? Too often I hear, well, the doctors are given intelligence by God, to know how to save a life. For the most part, most people believe that intelligence comes from God, and God gives people the intelligence that they have now to do whatever it is that they're good at doing. Well, the problem with that thinking is simply this: all information, all knowledge, all things that we know today, God didn't give it to us. If anyone reads the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, they'll realize that the information that we have today, we stole from God. We cannot be given something if we've already stolen it. God simply told Adam and Eve, don't touch this tree. Don't eat of this tree. For the day you eat of this tree, you shall surely die. So there's no I don't understand how people would try to rationalize that God gave human the intelligence that we have today, when we stole the intelligence a long time ago through our ancestors. When God says don't do something, it doesn't mean for us to turn around and then do it. If God says don't touch this tree, obviously that sounds like that tree does not belong to us. Therefore, what comes from that tree also is not going to belong to us. So I don't know how people rationalize today that intelligence comes from God. That statement is only true if you have spiritual discernment. That statement is only true if you've been born again and now you have left the worldly wisdom, which was stolen, and now God has given you spiritual wisdom, which is edifying to the soul and edifying to the spirit. The spirit that comes from above. That's intelligence. That statement would be true then if people were to look at it in that aspect. But the intelligence that we have today that causes us to build nukes, that causes doctors to open up people's chests and perform open heart surgery, the knowledge that causes people to believe that Earth have expounded out of this Big Bang theory, this sort of intelligence is insanity. So I don't know how people believe that God gave us intelligence. God clearly told Adam and Eve, don't touch of this tree. It will be the same. The same rule applies if your parents told you, hey, listen, don't touch the keys to my brand new car. What are you going to do? You're going to take the keys and say, hey, my mom gave me the keys? No, obviously the car doesn't belong to you. Therefore, the tree in the garden did not belong to us, to the human race. So, if you think about it in that aspect and you follow the scriptures accurately, God did not give the intelligence that we have today. So think about the intelligence that we have today and how many people are misusing this intelligence. How many people are proud because of this intelligence? How many people, boast themselves and, look down on others and walk proud, over this intelligence that they have over others, when the intelligence that they have over others is stolen. So think about it like that. And, all these college graduates and how we envy these people. And what are we envying? What, they are successors and masters in information stolen from God? So, it's all worldly wisdom. It's all going to profit man nothing. This is why God says the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God. No, scripture does not provide evidence that God has given intelligence to the human race. Scripture provides evidence where Paul was converted, where he was once Saul, and then God changed his name to Paul, and God for those 3 days downloaded Paul with so much spiritual information, and Paul knew all things from the beginning of the earth up until his point of existence. That there's proof of that type of intelligence, which is once again spiritual discernment, which is spiritual information, but not information that is stolen. No one can even try to say, well, God knew we were going to steal it. And God, it was never God's divine will for us to break his will. It was never God's divine purpose for us to disobey and break his purpose. God never institutes anything that would counteract his glory or counteract his holiness. Jesus says, how can a kingdom be divided against itself and stand? So therefore, why would God set up a system to try to destroy his own system? It doesn't make sense. So wisdom of the world was not given by God. The intelligence you have in your brain right now, you, the person watching this video, is not given by God. Except it be spiritual. Let me say that. Except it be spiritual. But whatever you possess to have or possess to know or whatever, it was stolen. It was stolen. The reason why people are so savvy and so smart in anything is because it was stolen. Especially architect, especially masonry. God talks about masonry all throughout the book of Genesis, and I think it's the biggest subject that is missed in the book of Genesis. You had a lot of people who have this worldly knowledge now who just are making a whole bunch of architectural designs and all these different artifacts that are completely disgusting in the sight of God. And God requires no masonry when it comes to the building of his things. He doesn't want anybody taking a chisel to carving out anything that has to do with his temple. God says he chooses out the stones and stuff like that. So it's a pretty interesting topic to study if you are ever in the book of Genesis again. When God says no, don't eat of the fruit, we said no, yes, we took the fruit. That's called stealing. That's not called God giving us anything. It's called theft. And a lot of us are going to be judged by this theft one of these days, because we're using what has been stolen for evil things, to look down on other people, to boast yourself that you're in a higher position than others, and it's all going to come back one day, and a lot of people gonna have to give an account for their actions.